Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Nassau's Waterspouts and Lightning webinar. Like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming and viewing. At this time, I'd like to introduce Craig Lowe for the opening prayer. Craig's the SI Weather founder and president.
It's about eyes closed. Eternal gracious God, we thank you for this moment in time that you've given us. Many blessings come along with this gathering, and that what we are as Rotary, as a weather network, and as a community can assist those in their very much needed times where there is disaster afoot. Father God, we ask you for your protection, your guidance, and your wisdom. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen. All righty. So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Craig Lowe. I am the founder of the Storm Intercept Network and SI Weather. We are a team of certified storm interceptors, storm spotters. We carry out ground truth observations. The main objective of our network, which started in 2017, was to provide the Bahamas Department of Meteorology with information relative to what's happening during weather events. So in essence, our teams deploy ahead of severe weather. We have what is known as an Outlook office. The Outlook office is run by meteorologist Kevin Benty, and they give us a brief every morning. Our storm spotters are volunteers, just for clarity. They are part of the working class here in the Bahamas. We have our director of the Hurricane Intercept Division, which I'm going to explain to you in a moment. She is one of our most active spotters. She works in the field. She's also a Rotarian. And if you listen in on our Zello channels, on our replays, you will hear Monique Palmisano from morning till night giving observations. We also have Mr. Robert Meister, who's going to speak as well. He's in charge of our Storm Intercept Division. Robert is very heavy in rainfall and also in waterspouts, and he's getting a little bit deeper into lightning. But his main objective is to coordinate these storm interceptors around the country, ensuring that they're properly trained, that they have the right equipment, and that their reports are sent into the Met Office. We also have a disaster assessment division that's headed by Mr. Timothy Roberts. That division is responsible for providing NEMA with relevant information during a weather event. Yes, during. Those teams do go out in hurricanes. They're highly trained. They are in the storm for the duration, and they give NEMA as well as the Met Office real-time reports of what is happening, so that when that storm is over, we have an idea of where we need to go and what we need to do. So just to give you an idea of the purpose of the network, in case all of that went over your head, the entire purpose is solely public safety. Here in the Bahamas, we take the weather very lightly, unless of course you're a pilot or a sailor. And obviously, you know you have to have that information. As a society, the only time we're concerned about the weather is when it's junking. So we want to make sure it ain't gonna rain. Now, a lot of people don't know that you can be outside of your house having a party and you can hear the sound of thunder and you can be struck by lightning. And that is the reason why our spotters are so important. Lightning will not trigger a severe weather warning. There are a lot of other factors. But once there is lightning present, our teams will issue what we call an observational alert or a ground truth report. And that report is sent to the public. We use social media, WhatsApp. And once that is sent out, the Bahamas Met Office is advised. And in many instances, 90% of the time, within 2 minutes of our observation going in, we have a severe weather warning. So now you have a double system. The public is already aware, they're on guard, and now you have a warning. So that is a part of the purpose. In addition, with our research exercises and partnered with meteorologist Wade, who is here to speak to you guys about waterspouts and also with the Met Office, we're now giving mariners a bigger heads up than before. Because we're spotting waterspouts and we're saying, okay, here's your alert, here's where it's located. Now the Met Office gets it, the research team gets it, and now we can advance the science behind it and create an even stronger alert system each and every day. So our network is here to do just that, assist the public, provide the relevant information to save lives and protect property. And of course, there's another famous thing that we do. If you're on the beach and you see one of our spotters and they start yelling at you, you should run. There's an old adage, and it's funny because all of us are into the weather. We're all weather enthusiasts. Some of us are meteorologists in their own respective rights. We always tell people, if the weatherman is not panicking, don't panic. Social media is great, but if it is not official, and if you don't have someone who is in that field, and if they're just relaxed, you too should relax. All right. So again, if you're on the beach and you see us screaming at you, take the advice, because we know what we're doing and we're going to keep you safe. Now, as this network flourishes and through the partnerships with Rotary and the various other agencies involved, we have been able to place 2 advanced Davis weather stations in the country. We've also been able to place an air quality sensor, one of the first, immediately followed by Blue Lagoon Island. So now we're starting to create a blanket in New Providence for just data alone. We've had instances before our stations were up where we had gust fronts come through, and one after the other, the wind picks up to about 50 miles per hour, goes through, then it stops, picks up again, goes through, and it stops. With our weather stations now, we can take that data, hand it over to the scientists and say, look, this happened on this day, these are the conditions. You can do your research, your models can now get better. We have also become partnered with one of the biggest projects in Bahamian history, the Bahamas Aviation Climate and Severe Weather Network. This network has already received their cabinet conclusion. It's some $470 million project to advance the weather technology in the country. They're getting ready to place over 109 sites in country. Their sites consist of technology that will now allow our forecasters to go to the surface, visually see what is happening, and give the public a more advanced forecast based off of location. It's no longer Northwest, Southeast, Central Bahamas. I don't know what region I live in. It's literally, you live on E Street, this is what you're going to get. So now we're getting ready to eliminate all of that. That network in itself is coming in to build a stronger weather system for our country. We live in the hurricane belt. This type of technology now gives us the upper hand. We should be the leading Caribbean country in the weather. And through this network, Bahamas Aviation Climate Severe Weather Network, as they continue to push forward and they bring in the teams like us who are working the field, you're going to get exactly what you're looking for. So you're not going to get Junkanoo is canceled. You're going to get, yeah, it is going to rain on Bay Street. And that's going to be guaranteed. So as we move forward and as this network continues to advance and we partner with persons like Rotary, Backswin, and all the other agencies, you as the public and everyone sitting in this room is going to be, you're going to be more weather ready than you were before. You're going to be that one neighbor, like everyone's neighborhood, their shutters are up and everyone's like, I'm going to wait. And you're like, no, I got it. I know what I have to do. And that becomes a part of disaster mitigation. The more you can mitigate the effects of the weather on your life, the better for you. Weather is one of the most uncontrolled features of our environment. And if you're prepared for it, you stand a better chance. And that is why this moment in time is so important. There was a conversation before I wrap up here. There was a conversation before we started about, have people been killed by waterspouts? And I don't think I misheard, but yes, it has happened. Boats have been damaged. They've come on shore, they've damaged homes. We've seen it. We saw it in 2021. We saw it this year. We've seen these things come off the marshlands, go into communities, tear off portions of roofs, damage people's vehicles. if you're in that as that happens, you can also be damaged, aka injured, maybe even killed. So now getting an understanding of what these threats are is going to help you. So I'm going to turn the table over to the wonderful president of the Rotary Club of Nassau, Chantel Nesbitt. And if you guys have any questions, we'll have a point for questions, and feel free to ask. Chantel.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig. Let's see if I can switch up the video here a little bit. All right. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Chantel Nesbitt. I am the president for the Rotary Club of Nassau. I am originally from Freeport, Grand Bahama, and we've had our share of hurricanes and storms over the years. In 1979, even though I was very young then, we did have David, which did cause a lot of destruction in Grand Bahama and throughout the Bahamas. So that was my first experience with, okay, weather really can cause a lot of havoc. Francis and Jane in 2004, again, it wasn't a strong hurricane, but it sat for 40 hours. So, there was a lot of rain, so there was still a lot of recovery following that. Matthew in 2016, I mean, that was our first bout with a strong hurricane. I think it was a strong category 4, but the gusts were a 5. So again, a lot of damage was done. Even me personally, I had a lot of damage done to my home. And of course, Dorian. I mean, everyone, is familiar with Dorian. I also lost family members actually during Dorian because my family is in Grand Bahama. So having gone through all of those, and you can see that, okay, it looks like we need to be doing more, not less, to prepare for storms. I wanted to know more about what I could do to help. Help in terms of preparing, what do you do in advance of a storm? Like Craig was saying, getting that knowledge, being warned, being trained, at least, you can, prepare to try to minimize the damage as much as possible. What you can do to prevent, what are things that you can do to prevent, the effects from being severe? How do you assess? You come out of your home after the storm. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need to report back to say, okay, we need to have things addressed so that we can get back to normal? And how do we recover? What are the things we need to do first in terms of that recovery steps? Who do we reach out to in terms of getting the recovery done? And of course, the repairs, who are the experts? Who are the persons that we need to reach out to make sure that we get the repairs done? So in 2019, I actually moved to Nassau, and I became a member of the Neighborhood Watch in the area that I'm in. And it just so happened that Craig is my neighbor, and and that passion that he had for SI weather. I mean, the first meeting that we had, and he talked about doing his patrols in the area, and he's giving all these weather updates. I reached out to him right away. I was like, look, I need to know more about this. So, we got in contact. I got a part of the alert groups. I started attending some of the SI weather meetings, and looking at what they were doing, I was like, yes, this is definitely something that we need to do. We need to make sure that we, get more people to know about this. Because one of the things with Dorian, a lot of people waited so long before they started to make the preparations, before they started to evacuate, that by the time they wanted, it was a bit too late. So, it was like, this is definitely what we need to get out there. So at that time, I would have been assistant secretary of the Rotary Club. And, I pitched it to the president. I was like, look, this is something that I think we should get involved with. This is something that I think we should back. So we worked at, okay, let's get the message out there to say what SI weather is. Because in talking to persons, spoke to other Rotary clubs to see if they were interested, no one knew about SI weather. So I was like, you know what, we need to start by making sure we get that message out there. So the first workshop that we had would have been last year, end of November last year, end of October, sorry, last year. It was more to just get the message out there. SI weather is here. This is what SI weather can do. This is what, how SI weather can help. And as a part of that workshop, some of the instruments that Craig talked about, we reached out to insurance companies, to bank companies, business owners throughout Nassau to say, This is an entity that Rotary wants to back. We see the potential in it. These are some instruments that they would need to make that happen. And we were able to actually, like Craig said, we were able to actually purchase the instruments so that we can, get more information out, what's it called, the ground truth out there. So that has been a successful partnership, and the instruments are working. I have the link on my phone, which I check every day. So it is actually working. Since then, and again, as a part of the preparation, we looked at having simulations, like real life simulations, not just kind of sitting there doing a paper exercise. We actually went through, I don't remember the name of the site, Craig, but we actually did Haravac. Yes, there you go. But you can actually see what will happen, the actual devastation and destruction that could happen with a storm. So we were able to do that simulation, and the members, were very grateful for it, because going through that, it's like, okay, now we know what we need to do to prepare. We need, these are things. So we had people reaching out to us. They need trees trimmed. They need, different. And part of that exercise was for us to actually plot on, on the Google map to say where our members are located. So in the event that something happens, we can reach out to them. We can help with assisting with rescue, recovery, what have you. So that was successful. Of course, we will do that again. And each time, we expect it to get better. And we also are encouraging persons to do the spotter training to get, become more educated, more, so that, when you go out there and you're looking at the clouds, you're looking at, there's a convergence line. I don't know if that's the right term, but you understand what it is you're looking at. So then, okay, this is something I need to be concerned about. This is something that I need. So we're encouraging persons to come out to do the spotter training. We have them set up. I think we're going to look and see if we can do some this weekend as well. And once you become a part of the SI Weather Network, every time something is coming up, you'll be notified so that you can get that information. And again, Rotary is there, helping to support wherever we can. So the aim is just to make as many Bahamians as possible, make them spotters, improve their preparedness, through the simulations, their life simulations, so that they can be prepared and know what to do, and make forecast reading as accessible and easy to understand as possible. So when you get the forecast from the Met Office, it doesn't look like a Greek, like foreign language. You actually get to understand what it's saying. Okay, now I need to do something, now I need to act. So that's a big part of what SI Weather wants to do, make it, easy to examine, where people actually understand it. So this is why Rotary is partnered with SI Weather, and why we continue to support them. And, as president, it wouldn't be bad to have this as my legacy as well. Yeah. And thank you. So back over to you now, Jeff, unless you have a video for us, Craig. Okay, so back over to you then, Jeff.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Robert Meister, who's the SI Weather Vice President. He's going to be speaking on lightning and waterspout history. Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Welcome and thank you to the Rotary Club of Nassau and the SI Weather Network members and all the attendees online. I'm the divisional director, one of the divisional directors of SI Weather Network, and in charge of the spotters, as Mr. Lowe already mentioned. Before I introduce Mr. Wade Szilagyi, our keynote speaker today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a brief chronology of historic events that have happened in waterspouts and lightning and safety related. Before I start that, I wanted to just briefly mention a couple incidents that happened to me myself in my life. That one was involving three waterspouts and one lightning. That got me, of course, more interested in the weather over the years, and among other events. So in high school, we were out fishing off eastern end of Nassau, and three waterspouts formed just to the south, in Yamakra, just off Yamakra. And we were quickly raced to the little island there south of Rose Island, and one waterspout, two dissipated, and one waterspout chased us and passed us just to went over Rose Island and sucked up a bird or two. So was certainly an interesting experience that got me more fascinated in that. The other one was in high school in Florida when I lived there for half a year. I was on a bicycle on the way home from school and from high school that time, and almost made it home. About 100 yards from the home, a lightning strike hit about 6 feet from me and knocked me off my bike, and I just ran home very quickly. So, but anyway, just a couple of the things that can happen with the incidents that happened to myself. So back to the when I started researching this, these events about waterspouts in history, and I didn't know what I was going to find, but it's absolutely fascinating. Some of these events are mind-boggling that I had no idea they ever happened. So here we go. August 24th, 1456. The earliest record of a waterspout at sea is reported near Ancona, Italy, referred to as a whirlwind of water. September 23rd, 1551, Valletta, Malta in the Mediterranean. A waterspout strikes the Grand Harbor of Valletta and moves inland as an estimated F3 tornado. It strikes the strategic Grand Harbor of Valletta, where at least 4 battleships are destroyed. The human toll is much worse. At least 600 persons died. This likely was the worst European tornado on record. 1769, Brescia, Italy. The church was being used as a battery to store approximately 100 tons of gunpowder. The church, St. Nazaire, took a direct lightning hit, and all the gunpowder eventually caught on fire and exploded. A sixth of the city was destroyed, and nearly 3,000 people died. June 26, 1807, Luxembourg, Europe. Lightning strikes a gunpowder fortress factory and causes a massive explosion in the small European country, which was then occupied by Napoleon's army to stockpile weapons, killing more than 300 people. And by the way, I have, anyone in the room, I have a printout of this for afterwards, of all the events. March 30th, 1850, Nassau, Bahamas. 3 waterspouts were seen by an eyewitness near Andros not long before a violent tornado strikes Nassau from the southwest side and causes a several-mile-long path of destruction 100 yards wide. The tornadic activity ends as a waterspout in Nassau Harbor, where it sinks 2 vessels in the harbor and destroys dozens of homes over land. But much worse, 8 people die and 20 persons are injured. It remains the deadliest tornado in recorded Bahamas history and may have started as a waterspout. November 8th, 1851, Sicily, Italy. 2 waterspouts move onshore at the western end of the island, becoming large, violent tornadoes. An estimated 500 people lose their lives. So, December 4th, 1872, the Mary Celeste. This American registered merchant brigantine is discovered adrift and deserted in the Atlantic Ocean near the Azores Islands. The last entry in the log was 10 days prior. None of those on board were ever seen again. The ship had ample food and cargo, and personal belongings were undisturbed. Only 1 life raft was missing. Among other theories, a waterspout theory has been speculated. A severe waterspout strike before the abandonment could explain the amount of water in the ship and the ragged state of her rigging and sails. The sudden low barometric pressure from the waterspout could have driven water from the bilges up into the pumps, leading the crew to assume the ship had taken on more water than she had and was in danger of sinking. July 24th, 1921. This is an unknown location, but it was reported by the New York Times, the headline. Waterspout hits a car, obviously it must have gone over land, near the water. So 2 hurled to death, 2 injured as the automobile falls over a 400-foot cliff. December 17th, 1959. Macdoba Lake, central Greece. The deadliest tornadic event in modern Greek history took place in Macdoba Lake. 21 workers lose their lives as the boat is destroyed. You guessed it, by a waterspout. December 8th, 1963, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Pan Am Flight 214 was preparing to land in Philadelphia when it was struck by lightning. A portion of the wing tore off and the fuel tank ignited, killing all 81 passengers and crew on board. September 11th, 1970. Venice, Italy. 33 persons are killed, many in a crowded passenger motorboat. You guessed it, I put tornadic waterspout. December 23rd, 1975, Zimbabwe, which was formerly Rhodesia. A lightning strike kills 21 people, many of them children in a tribal hut. This is the highest mortality single lightning flash ever documented. July 13, 14, 1977, New York City. Electrical power to New York City is lost for 25 hours, creating fear and confusion among the population. What most people do not know is that at least 3 lightning strikes caused the outage when it hit Consolidated Edison's power grid network. November 14th, 1969 and March 26, 1987, Cape Canaveral, Florida. Apollo 12, 36 and 56 seconds after liftoff, carrying astronauts on the second human mission to the moon, the rocket is struck twice by lightning, with cloudy weather present overhead at the launch site. Rockets can create a significant static discharge in the right conditions. This caused havoc with several of the rocket systems and communications transmissions. It was the quick thinking of one NASA engineer that saved the mission from failure. And in 1987, NASA launched the Atlas Centaur AC-67. The vehicle was launched into conditions conducive to triggered lightning, and the lightning strike 49 seconds into launch resulted in catastrophic digital computer unit failure. Both launch vehicle and Navy communication satellite were lost. Summer of 1988's Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. During a severe drought, lightning strikes caused 42 of 51 fires, burning approximately 750,000 acres. Combined with the winds, nearly 40% of the park catches fire and burns to the ground. A large amount of wildlife perished in the fire as well. May 4th, 1989, we go back to Malta. Lightning strikes a fireworks factory, taking the lives of 2 people after the complex explodes. November 2012, near Toronto, back in Italy, a waterspout moves inland and hits the largest steel plant in Europe. The damage total is 60 million euro to the port and the plant. July 5th, 2016, south coast of Cuba, approximately 7 waterspouts leave 38 injured and damage to dozens of homes. The fast-moving waterspouts produced 5-meter-high waves, according to eyewitnesses. So we can talk about that later if that's even possible, but may have been the spray related to a spray ring. February 28th, 2002, near the Shetland Islands, North Sea, an AS-322 Super Puma helicopter carrying 18 passengers experiences violent pitching and rolling after being hit by turbulence from a waterspout. The helicopter suffered damage to the tail rotor to all 5 blades in the pylon. And September 27th to October 3rd, 2003, we're getting into your backyard there, Wade. Great Lakes, Canada and US, the largest recorded waterspout outbreak to that date happened over the Great Lakes. In total, 66 plus waterspouts were sighted. In one day alone, 21 plus waterspouts were observed over Lake Ontario. The outbreak lasted 7 days. May 30th, 2015, Fort Lauderdale Beach, Florida. A waterspout moves onto the beach on Memorial Day and lifts a bounce house with 3 small children over palm trees into the air and across 4 lanes of traffic before landing in a parking lot. The 3 children were tossed out of the bounce house before it flew away, but all 3 suffered broken bones. August 16th through 18th, 2020, Great Lakes, Canada and US again. 88 waterspouts in 3 days, a new world record, but just days later, on September 28th to October 4th, 2020, a new world record of an unbelievable 240 plus waterspouts during this 7-day outbreak. On July 12th, 2021, Jaipur, India, a lightning strike kills at least 16 people and injures many more when the victims were taking selfies in the rain on top of a watchtower at the city's 12th century Amber Fort, populous tourist attraction. Around 2,000 Indians on average die every year from lightning strikes, according to official data, says the BBC. August 4th, 2022, Smith Island, Maryland. A tornadic waterspout comes ashore on Smith Island, damaging 17 homes, 3 to 4 extensively, and also tears down power lines. And I have one unknown date, don't know when it happened, but a ship was being overtaken by a waterspout that registered a drop of 21 HPA, I think it's hectopascal, on the ship's barometer. It's 21, it's a huge drop in seconds, basically. A couple more myths on waterspouts. Ancient mariners believed waterspouts were streams of water pouring from the sky. In the 18th and 19th century, it was a commonly held belief among sailors that shooting a broadside cannon volley dispersed waterspouts. And just one more fact that I came across that is very interesting about waterspouts. Ted Fujita, the famous tornado researcher after whom the Fujita tornado damage scale is named, found that about 1/4 of typhoon-associated tornadoes affecting the Japanese islands over a 22-year period originated as intense waterspouts. Damage statistics indicate that tornadoes of waterspout origin in Japan are on average stronger than those that originated over land. So a lot of things to think about when we thought waterspouts are maybe most waterspouts are very safe, but I mean relatively minor. But you see from the number of incidents and the catastrophic type of incidents that have happened that involved waterspouts and some lightning, that we can't underestimate waterspouts, and Wade will be talking about that in a few seconds. So that brings me to introducing our keynote speaker today.
Correct.
Right. And it's an honor to have him here. Mr. Wade Szilagyi is the co-founder and director of the International Center for Waterspout Research. He's also a meteorologist with the Meteorological Service of Canada for over 35 years. And graduated from the University of Toronto, Wade obtained his degree in atmospheric physics in 1987. Wade has been passionate about meteorology since grade 8, when he started taking daily weather observations. This formed the basis for a 5-year climatology project that he entered in the high school science fair. As a meteorologist, Wade became interested in waterspouts during the 1990s. At that time, there was no method to forecast waterspouts. And so Wade initiated a waterspout research project that has resulted in the creation of the world's first waterspout forecast model. Wade has published several articles and research papers on the topic of waterspouts and forecasting, and is recognized as the world authority on the subject. He has also appeared on various media outlets discussing the topic of waterspouts. Today, Wade keeps busy spreading the word internationally about waterspouts, collaborating with other meteorologists, storm chasing groups, and the media. And thanks to the Rotary Club of Nassau, it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce Wade to talk here today. Welcome.
Wait, sorry, just before you start, Craig has a video that he wants to show. Okay. Just to give some more information about it. Waterspouts. Craig, you can just talk over it.
So before Wade begins, Robert was really the person who initiated the contact with the ICWR, and it got us on a whole nother level. The video you're watching that right now, it was captured by our storm spotters on South Beach. And this was a waterspout that lasted over 15 minutes. We got the last 5 minutes of it when we arrived. The mere fact that if you're looking at this video, our spotters were beckoning to people to leave the water, go in your cars. It's not safe to be out here. You have 2 beautiful rain traps along either side of that waterspout. And that would have been estimated to be some 15 miles offshore. And the good part was moving towards the west. So as that storm cell moved towards the west, it was moving away, but we still had lightning, we still had all of the effects. And this is what we do on a daily basis. I think this may be one of Wade's favorite videos, actually. Yes, I think he was peeping over there the whole time I was going through it. I don't know if he heard Robert at some point, but that's what happens. It's the love, it's the passion, and you're going to hear from Wade, and we're just happy Wade is here. So again, this is a very extensive video. This is showing you everything that goes on that sometimes you miss when you have waterspouts associated with severe weather. In fact, a severe weather warning was issued once this was observed by our spotters. And to go even deeper, During this storm, we had people still in the water and we had cloud to ground lightning within 1 mile of our location. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with jet ski operators. We've seen it with shore of the excursion boats. Robert with Blue Lagoon has one of the most advanced weather stations in the country. And I can tell you, when it starts to happen, it's shut down, but some people don't take it as serious. But we have to come to the point where we do, because this can change in a heartbeat. You can be there on the beach and you're looking at the water spout and you got your comb and you're trying to cut it, you know, the old Bahamian tradition. That doesn't work. Just so you know, it does not work. All right. You should not be standing there doing what we're doing. We always tell people that we're the professionals. We know when it's time to go. All right. So this is the beauty of nature at its finest. So I'm going to turn it over to Wade, because it's going to be at least another 5 minutes on this video, I think. So Wade, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig, and thank you, Robert, for that warm welcome. I'd also like to thank the Rotary Club of the Bahamas, as well as SI Weather Network, for inviting me here to your beautiful country. I've never been here before. And of course, my first day that I'm here, I see a water spout to the north of Nassau. And then on day 2, another one outside my hotel window.
Rearrange that.
Thank you, Bert. Yeah, it's
We call it travel.
So, as with our initial introductions, obviously we're going to be talking about waterspouts today, and about 45 minutes. I'll go into depth, add some color to it. We'll also be talking about for about 10-15 minutes about lightning as well. And I hope you enjoy the show. So, do we have it switched over to this presentation online?
Sorry?
Do we have it switched over to the online version?
He just needs to share your
I have to share my screen,
Yes.
okay? And get out of presentation mode.
Go to the zone.
Okay, where is the Zoom?
Just go, yeah, once you get to the zone.
Have to find the Zoom. Oh, there's. Okay.
No, once you get to the zone, just share screen from zone.
I think that's the.
No.
That's not the cell. Okay. Okay, so let me do the PowerPoint. All right. Yes. Yeah, I like how I can see mode. Yes, I don't want to see this mode, just the that mode. Okay. Yeah, technical problem here.
Yeah, you know,
I had it.
It worked yesterday.
you know, it always does.
This works through practice runs.
Yeah, we worked
Okay.
it yesterday.
Actually, I think I saw the last bar at the top.
Should be. I want to get over this.
Yeah, I want to get this. Hi, present. There we go.
Wow.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience, everyone. So why don't we start talking about water spouts? So what exactly is a water spout? We've heard various people. Oops, I just lost my presentation. Are we sharing?
No, it's not sharing.
We're not sharing. Okay. Just one more technical difficulty. Says that I'm sharing, so we will reshare the screen.
Where's the presentation?
There is the presentation.
Oh, my
Is
goodness.
it under window? Remember we tried it under window yesterday? Go to the window tab. It's just sharing the screen.
Hmm?
It's just sharing.
That's exactly, you click on window, see if it's under window.
Yeah, I think it was under the window tab yesterday. We get back to
No.
that. Oh, are we
Nope,
sharing?
Nope, still not sharing.
Not
Nope,
yet.
that's the
So
presentation.
let's
Let's
escape. Now, if
be
you
back
can
to Zoom
get back to Zoom.
and then share. Need to share it now.
Share the screen.
Yeah.
Window.
Is it in there? Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How's that?
Okay.
Yeah. Right, and then I have to get rid of them. No,
We're not seeing this.
What do you think?
I think it's delayed or whatever.
Is it?
Yes, you are, you're seeing it.
No, this is
It's
showing it.
delayed.
This is not showing the presentation.
how
It's
about
showing-
this?
Seeing,
Yeah.
Let's change the page.
I'm seeing it.
Yes, but
No, but you're seeing more than
online.
what's up there.
Are people seeing online?
Yes.
We're seeing
We've seen the tabs.
Yeah,
we're seeing
you're seeing all your tabs, not just this here.
PowerPoint.
Oh,
Seeing PowerPoint, not the presentation.
we don't want that. Share screen. Entire screen,
Try window,
window,
that one there, yeah. That one should be it.
share. Are people seeing that online?
Yes, we
All
got
right,
it
great.
now.
See, it takes a team, not
Yes.
only to chase weather, but for presentations as well. All right, I'll make up for it with the presentation. So, what exactly is a water spout? Some people see them, some people hear about them. What exactly is it? Actually, people don't exactly agree on what a water spout is. According to Wikipedia, it's an intense columnar vortex over the water. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration believes it's a whirling column of air and water mist. So it's close to what Wikipedia thinks. The National Geographic, it's a column of rotating cloud-filled wind. And then there's the World Meteorological Organization. It's essentially a tornado over the water. So take your pick. All of them have similarities, and no one can agree. Not even us meteorologists, even within the same weather center. I've had discussions with a tornado research scientist, and we don't see eye to eye on the definition of what a water spout is. But going through the presentation, I hope that everyone will have a clearer view. So, okay, now we kind of have an idea what a water spout is, but why are we concerned about water spouts? I know Robert did give in his introduction a history of the impacts of water spouts. And so obviously a water spout is a definite marine hazard. They've been known to capsize small boats. Also large boats or ships, they're a hazard to personnel on board. They could be thrown off the ship. I talked to a captain on a Great Lakes freighter up in Lake Huron during a weather presentation. And he told me one water spout came over his ship, and right over the anemometer it registered 84 knots. So those are tornadic winds. And so you don't want to be on deck when these things are occurring. They're also an aviation hazard. So most people think water spouts, okay, ships, small boats, but they're even a hazard to airplanes and light aircraft, helicopters. Robert did mention that there was a helicopter that encountered a waterspout. I don't know if it's the same one that I remember off in Scotland.
Yeah.
And the North Sea.
Yes.
Okay, that was the same one. And they experienced severe turbulence, and the pilots lost control of their aircraft, and you could crash or have your plane or helicopter damaged. When waterspouts, as I mentioned, they capsize boats and they can cause damage as well. Waterspouts have also been known to come onto the shore and cause damage, and especially to marinas. And if you ever see a waterspout that comes on the shore and then it lasts for just a little bit and then it dissipates, that's what we call a non-tornadic or fair weather type waterspout. But if the waterspout continues on shore and keeps moving inland, that's a true tornado that formed over the water, continues over the land. And we'll see the different types. And as I mentioned, waterspouts do cause extreme turbulence for small aircraft. So we know what they are, why we're concerned about them. So where exactly do waterspouts occur? I know, again, Robert is researched, listed various areas around the world. But here is a geographical map displaying all waterspouts that have occurred in the last 2 years. This is part of our world mapping project that we initiated exactly 2 years ago. And I collect and look for waterspout reports from around the world every day. It takes about an hour or two, and then I plot them on a map of the world. And the purpose of this project is to look for waterspout hotspots. And this can affect everyone from planning purposes for shipping, aircraft routes, possibly along shorelines, the building of communities. As you can see, waterspouts are actually seen all over the world. Large lakes, bays, rivers, however, they are most commonly reported along the coast, obviously where there's a population. From this map, I don't have the ability to zoom in, but waterspout hotspots so far in the last 2 years, the data we collected are in the Gulf of Mexico along the US East Coast. Actually, as a result of our interaction and networking with SI Weather Network, we're now starting to see waterspout hotspots in the Bahamas, especially around Nassau and up in Freeport as well. Also, the Mediterranean Sea is another hotspot. There's a large population around the coast of Mediterranean Sea, especially Italy. So we have a lot of observations in there, the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, also in Southeast Asia and the east coast of Australia as well. And there's also some along the east coast of South America. By the way, this picture you see in the background, this is an actual picture of a waterspout and a lightning bolt that occurred at the same time at night. So this is a rare picture, and this was taken off of Genoa, Italy, about 2 years ago. And this also proves that waterspouts occur during nighttime. So they're actually more dangerous at night in terms of because you can't see them. And if you're out in a boat or along the shoreline, it makes it that much more dangerous. So we know what they are, where they occur, why they're important. Let's get a little bit of understanding on the anatomy of a waterspout. So a waterspout is an intense vortex comprised of mist or condensate. In the center of the waterspout, which you can see in the diagram or in the actual picture, the waterspouts are actually have a clear central core. The air is actually going down in the center of the waterspout, and on the outside of the waterspout, it's rapidly rotating upwards. Many times you see this, what's called a collar cloud. It's like a bulge underneath the base of the cloud. So if you see that, you're out in a boat, be very suspicious that a waterspout might come out of that. Down at the surface, you'll quite frequently see what's known as a spray ring. spray ring is actually water being pulled up off the surface of the water. And I've seen a spray ring go all the way up to almost 3/4 of the way of the water spout. And we've actually had reports from around the world over millennia of raining fish and other marine life, squids and so forth. And so water spouts can actually pull some small marine life out of the water and deposit them inland. There was actually a story of in Australia, in the desert, western desert, of raining frozen fish. So the water spout pulled them up out of the ocean, went up to the height where it was below freezing, flash freezing, and deposited for the people farther inland. So doesn't always happen. All kinds of cases of this. I remember when I was an operational forecaster, aviation, working the aviation desk, we had a pilot report of fish hitting the airplane, the pilot's screen as he was flying over Lake Erie. So it was just raining fish. So these things actually happen. It's true. Now, I'm not talking about Sharknado here. These are small fish. Also, if the water spout is moving, you'll see a very typical effervescent trail of bubbles that the water spout leaves. It's also typical that water spouts occur to the sides of showers, because the shower, you have air coming down and then interacting with the updraft of the cloud and spiraling up. All right, so that's the anatomy of a water spout. Do you know there's actually different stages to water spouts? It's not just one big one that you see out there. Sometimes you only see a partial water spout. Well, that depends on what stage you're at. So the very first stage of a water spout is actually, you can't even see it from the surface. You have to be in a plane. It's a rotating column of air that causes a dark spot on the water spout surface. So there's actually already an invisible vortex that's formed underneath the cloud, but you can't see it. And as the wind starts to rotate even faster, then it starts making this dark impression on the surface. So from the air, that's a sign to look out for. Stage 2 is the spiral pattern. So as the vortex increases in wind speed even further, you have the dark spot, but then you start to get these light and dark bands. You can't really see the light band in this picture, but you definitely see the dark band out from the dark spot starting to form. And that's caused by the winds that are being pulled into the vortex. Stage 3 of the water spout. This is a common stage where you actually start seeing a funnel cloud descending from the bottom of the cloud base. And at the same time, you start to see a spray ring if you're close enough to the water spout. If it's way off in the distance, you'll usually only just see the funnel cloud, but the water spout spray ring does exist. So this happens because the winds are rotating so fast that actually lowers the pressure in that vortex column. And when you have lowering pressure, that causes condensation. So this condensation funnel starts to form and it starts to go towards the water surface as the air speed increases further and further and the pressure decreases even further. Stage 4 is what we call the mature stage of water spout. This is when the water spout is most dangerous. It's at its maximum speed. And as you can see, the spray ring is even bigger. And it's a complete water spout, funnel cloud from the base of the cloud down to the surface. And this is the most dangerous time to be near a water spout. And then finally, stage 3 is the decay stage. And this can happen in seconds or minutes where the water spout vortex starts to collapse, the funnel retracts up into the cloud, and the spray ring disappears. I've seen all these stages, and one of my favorite stages is the decay stage because I've never seen water being pulled up into the air about 3/4 of the way to the cloud base. The vortex decays, but that water is still up there. And it's like it's floating, and then it starts to float back down along with all the fish that come with it too. Okay, so that's the water spout life cycle. So we know how the anatomy of the life cycle, but how exactly do they form? So just to put it simply, you need two ingredients. You need instability, rising air, and you need what we call low-level vorticity or spin. And those are the two ingredients. That's all you really need. So instability, there's two kinds of instability. You can have cool air moving over relatively warm waters, and that happens mostly in the temperate latitudes and even down here in the wintertime. Or in the tropical or subtropical latitudes, you can have very moist air in the low levels, and that causes instability. Low level vorticity or spin. So these areas of spin happen in convergence zones where the air is coming together, which is, for example, along a front, you could have a southwest flow here in Nassau, and then in Freeport, the wind is out of the northwest behind the front, and at the boundary is where the winds converge, and that's where you get spinning occurring at the surface. You can also have little vortices form in troughs, land breezes, outflow boundaries from thunderstorms, and on the leeward side of islands. So you could have, as we can attest yesterday, I went waterspout hunting with Monique and with Robert briefly, and we went to the southwest side of your island, and we saw these lines of cloud forming, and those are convergence lines. So whenever you have islands in a mean flow of air, that actually causes little vortices downstream from the islands, and you see these convergence lines, and you can't see the vortices, but if one just happens to be caught up in a updraft, then you get a water spout. So this diagram shows that. You have the little vortices forming at points A, B, and C. You have cumulus clouds forming. Cumulus clouds start to grow further into towering cumulus clouds, and so an updraft is created. And then if the updraft is strong enough, it forms a large towering cumulus cloud or cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud. Then, and it happens to coincide for one of these little vortices, that's when you get the waterspout vortex form. And that's the reason why you don't see a waterspout every day, except when I come here. It's because you need the perfect ingredients. You need to have that instability, convergence, and then you get a waterspout. So we don't have that every day. Did you know there's two types, general types of waterspouts, fair weather waterspouts and severe weather type waterspouts? So the fair weather waterspouts, from the statistics I've been able to gather, occur about 85% of the time. So that's the vast majority of waterspouts. Nothing major to fear. I don't want to say nothing to fear at all, but you don't have to, these ones that move inland, they die as soon as they hit the beach. So for people inland, they don't have to worry about that. Still, mariners and pilots do have to be concerned about fair weather waterspouts. The severe weather waterspout, they happen about 15% of the time. And those are actual tornadoes over the water with rotation in the cloud base, what us meteorologists call a mesocyclone. And if they come from the sea onto the land, they just land. These are the big ones. These are the ones you really have to worry about. And they can cause quite a amount of damage. Okay, so one of the main reasons I'm here is for waterspout safety, because we have some sailors in the audience, I understand, and some pilots, and some people who like to go to the beach. So let's, what can we do if we see a waterspout? Well, first of all, before we see the waterspout, if you're a mariner or a pilot, always listen for any special marine warnings, especially about waterspout sightings. Your weather service will send out a special marine warning, I understand, if one is sighted or if conditions are conducive for waterspout formation. So that's the listening part before you go down on your boat. Now, if you're already out on your boat, you know, the forecast isn't always perfect, and sometimes it might not even be in the forecast. Or maybe it wasn't the forecast, but it's not going to happen until later on in the day. But these are the things to watch out for. Keep an eye on the sky and always look for anything underneath a line of cumulus clouds with dark flat bases. The reason you want to look under there is because, well, first of all, it's dark because the cloud is thick. And the thicker the cloud, the stronger the updraft usually, and that's where waterspouts usually occur. So always look for lines of clouds. That's your key to spotting a waterspout. That's very favorite location for that. Also, watch out for thunderstorms because these ones usually produce the most intense waterspouts. Okay, so what happens if you spot a waterspout and you're out in your boat? Well, the general rule is to move at right angles to its apparent motion. Don't try to outrun a waterspout because it will catch up to you. And that applies to other things in life too. Don't run from the law, I think. So yes, always move at 90-degree angles or right angles to it. And that's what this Italian tour boat operator did. As you can see, he did an abrupt turn to the left because a waterspout was coming. I saw the video to this, and actually he just missed the waterspout. It was moving towards him. He turned to the left because he was heading right for it and was able to evade this particular waterspout. But what do you do if collision is inevitable? You didn't have a chance to turn your boat in time, or one just forms just in front of you. Maybe you didn't, maybe it wasn't there, and one's starting to form, and you don't have time to react. Well, the best thing to do is to close all your hatches, take down your sail, and if possible, go below deck. So after you've done all that, after the waterspout moved over your boat, you didn't capsize, you're safe. Call your Coast Guard, which I understand is called the Defense Force. That's your Coast Guard. Call them to let them know that you encountered a waterspout or saw a waterspout. Also, if you know the Weather Service contact them, because they want to know about that, because then they can warn other mariners and put out a special marine warning due to waterspouts. And if you have time, and we would appreciate it, please contact on social media, either at that time or when you get back to port, SI Weather Network or myself at the International Center for Waterspout Research, because I will take your report, plot it on our world waterspout map, and that will add to our knowledge of where these things are happening. Also, we do run the waterspout model, and that it's based on reports from people, mariners as well. So that's that really helps. Okay, so let's narrow down to the waterspouts that happen here in the Bahamas. So we know why they're important, how they form, what they look like, but when do they occur? So courtesy of the SI Weather Network and the Bahamian Weather Service and reports from mariners such as yourself and others, we were able to put together a climatology. So these red bars are the average monthly waterspout spouts that have been reported. So you have a couple of peaks, two seasonal peaks, one in June and one kind in September. July, it's coming down a bit, but yeah, June and September are your peaks. Waterspouts can happen anytime during the year, but they do occur most frequently during your rainy season in June, and another bit of one in September. The blue bars are what happened this year. And as you can see, there have been a lot more reports of waterspouts, more than the average climatological monthly event of waterspouts reported. The reason is Can anyone guess why there was a dramatic increase in the number of water spouts this year?
WhatsApp.
Oh, that was weird.
It's not recording.
Was that your report? Any other guesses? Why is there a tremendous increase this year in the number of water spouts compared to the average? That I don't know if we take questions from online, but I don't know if that
We
was
can.
okay. Do you see anyone that has an answer? Why? And if not, okay.
Change.
So I was waiting for that. So we get that a lot. Climate change is causing more water spouts each year. And is it causing more tornadoes, more hurricanes? That's the question. So the answer is, it's too soon to say that it's due to climate change, because climate change is over a long period. We've only been looking at this intensely for the last 30 years, myself, and then here in the Bahamas, really closely in the last year, right, Robert?
Yes.
Yeah, so in combination with our networking with SI Weather Network, now we're really starting to look at these water spout events. So we can't, it's too early to say that it's due to climate change. It is, as you mentioned, it's an artifact of technology, social media, and networking. So it's so easy to report a water spout nowadays. You can tweet it, you can put it on WhatsApp, you can put it on what other social media is there? Instagram, yes. And that's where I get the vast majority of my reports. TikTok? I don't think I'm not ready to go to TikTok yet. I'm not ready to do a song and dance. But thanks for the idea anyways.
Yeah.
Also, the networking is really big, because if I wasn't networking with SI Weather Network, I would know about several water spout events that occurred in the Bahamas. So a combination of social media and networking is bringing us closer to a better understanding of what's actually going on in the area. So the blue graph, even though it shows there's a dramatic increase in the number of water spouts compared to the climatological average, maybe the blue graph is actually what is normally going on. And because now people are telling us. So we'll see next year what happens, if we get the same kind of pattern or not. Okay, so that's your monthly climatology, but what about yearly? Water spout reports been increasing? And the answer is yes. Over the last 30 years, water spout reports have dramatically increased, especially after 2009. And see, there's a couple of peaks. I'm not too sure why 2001. Oh, actually, 2021 is a minimum. Can anyone guess why there was a dramatic decrease in the number of water spout events reported?
Everybody's locked inside.
Locked.
Down, yeah.
Exactly.
The water spouts from inside.
No rule. Exactly. So due to COVID, so many impacts, and there's one of the impacts. There was a marked decrease in the number of water spouts reported. So most likely this point should be up here. But as you can see, there's a general trend upwards on the number of water spouts occurring each year. And again, is that climate change? Well, when you're talking about climate change, you're not talking decades, it's even longer than that. So we've been reporting some, let's see, 1993, 30-year period. That's a standard climatological average period. So because before social media, before the internet, we didn't really get many reports, but now they're starting to come in. And now with the networking and the social media combined together, it's really taking off. But we'll see in the long term if this is due to climate change or not. So what about geographically? Where are water spouts happening in the Bahamas? So they can occur anywhere. However, they're most frequently spotted, obviously, where there's population centers. So look at this big maximum number of reports around Nassau and Freeport. Is this Exuma?
Abaco.
This is Exuma.
Eleuthera.
Eleuthera, okay. I'm learning my geography.
Exumas are in between Nassau
Yeah, right there.
and
Right there.
yeah, right there.
Okay, yeah. And so essentially, it goes to that old saying, that the old Chinese proverb, if there's a tree that falls in a forest, does it make a sound? So some people would argue, no, because there's no one there to hear it, right? But others would say, yes, of course it makes a sound. So the same thing here. Are there any waterspouts down here in the southeast? So some people would say no, because it's not been reported. But others would say, yes, they're occurring there. It's just that there's no one there to see it. So I'm of that philosophy. They're occurring more frequently than we believe. All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the presentation. So I compiled a ship's log of waterspout pictures. And this is part of the presentation where I'm going to ask the audience to vote on what is their favorite waterspout of 2022 from the Bahamas. So these are all from your area. And why don't we start with the first one?
Impressive.
Including online, right?
That's Albany,
Yes.
that's southwest of New Providence.
Okay, anyone have their hands up for this one?
Do we only have one vote?
Maybe multiple votes are allowed, because you need to see them all at once, right? Okay, we don't have any votes for this one. What about the waterspout from Freeport, May 7th, 2022? A fully mature waterspout. See the spray ring here. That's a nice one. Anyone vote for this?
I like that. One vote.
Someone likes it? Okay, we got one vote. Yeah, you're allowed multiple votes. We'll just see who has the most, which one does. Okay, we got two.
I see.
It's not yours.
I vote 3 more.
It's not yours. That's because it's your hometown.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, number 3.
Good luck.
Who votes for Black Point Exuma, March 1st, 2022? Really nice scenery.
Wow.
do. Okay, we got 3 votes for that, so I think that one is our leader.
No, Freeport is leading.
Freeport
Freeport is leading.
It's got 4 votes. Like you keep
You see
that?
We'll have to trust controversy.
Photo number 4.
Sorry, absolutely.
What, were you all there to see this? Okay, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Even online, we have votes for that one. Online as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it just because the beach or?
I think it's
Yes, colors and everything.
Fully formed,
Yeah.
strong looking one too.
Okay, well, let's see if the next photo is better than that one. What about Barry's Island, June 19th? You got a beach there, a bit of a beach. It's a fully mature waterspout. Notice this curtain of rain. That's probably a thunderstorm. And as you saw in the previous diagram, waterspouts form to the sides of rain, not inside the rain itself. Number 6, who votes for this one? Kids Cove. So this one isn't a fully mature waterspout. You can see the clear central core, and it has a nice sailboat in the front. Not too many votes for that.
That's nice. That's probably where it's.
I believe that's Exumas.
This is a unique photograph. So this is a waterspout with a rainbow. You know how rare that is? Flamingo Cay, Keith, and March 2nd. So we got a couple of, okay,
All for the rainbow.
all right. Number 8.
Oh, yeah.
Mature March Harbor. March, it's a big one.
It's very close.
I believe there was a video associated with this. Well, so you can't get any more closer than that. Photograph number 9, Spanish Wells. A thin water spout, spray ring. It doesn't look like it's fully mature. Beautiful water. Oh, I heard a vote. LSS.
Someone just checked in.
Number 10, New Providence, somewhere in New Providence, March 1st. Oh, wasn't this yours, Craig, or Kevin's? Wasn't this Kevin or Monique's?
That's probably money.
Monique's, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Money.
You have Monique's here?
It's different, as you can see the phone.
Actually, you know what? I was at this location yesterday afternoon. There's a cliff here. It's the most southwesterly point of your island, I believe. And she has a great eye for even seeing the smallest ones or the ones that are just forming. Number 13, foul K. So this was taken from someone that was inland.
That's Abaco.
Okay. That one is not fully mature, but it was one that did occur here and just last month. And then there's the final photograph.
That's a good one too.
That is a good one. I saw the video to that.
It's Grand Cayman. I can't wait.
You can't vote for that one. It's beautiful, but you know, that's how
That's you got the island wrong, yeah. So
That's the island.
it's called, that's on Abaco. Good.
Okay.
Castaway.
So our vote, I believe our vote, is it this one that won the
Yeah, probably.
most popular?
I would say so.
We'll call this the number one water spout picture of 2000.
Which side of Norman's is that looking east?
I have it in the records,
It looks like it's looking east, doesn't it?
I don't know offhand, no, let me see.
You got the sound there.
Oh, sorry, I was just there. Let's get out of there. It's all right. Let's have to look at this. There we go.
Wait, I see a message here from Ian McKenzie from the Bahamas Met Office, Meteorological Office.
Oh, yes.
He said he's making a comment, what we just talked about before. Said there may be more reports of waterspouts due to an increased level of awareness and spotters.
That's right. There are more eyes out there, more trained eyes.
Yeah.
And just more general awareness. So the more we spread the word, what to look for, the more chances of spotting a waterspout. So we talked about what they are, why are they important, where they form, how they form, and what forecasting waterspouts. So this is where I come in. What we look for are look at the temperature. We look at the sea surface temperature. We look at the temperature up in the cloud level. We look at the difference in temperature. We look at the wind speed, because at a certain wind speed, there's a threshold where waterspouts don't form. If it's too windy, the vortex can't form. Also, we look for low level moisture. Is it moist enough? Because I've seen several cases, especially up in the mid latitudes over the Great Lakes, where you have a tremendous temperature difference between the cloud and cloud level, water temperature. Wind speed is not too strong, and yet you don't get any waterspouts, and that's because you need cloud to have a waterspout. So if it's too dry, you won't get any waterspouts. And also what we talked about before, low level convergence, or those areas where the winds come together. And that's another important reading for waterspout formation. As you can see with the little computer animation here, I have developed a waterspout index called the SWI, or the Selagie Waterspout Index. And we are now able to predict conditions favorable for waterspouts out to as far as the model goes. So we use the Canadian GEM model, which goes up to 48 hours. We've used a global model that goes out a week. And now we've actually been able to produce forecasts for the entire Earth on waterspout potential. I don't have that example here. I just have the North American one. But you can actually view this waterspout potential forecast map online at our ICWR website. I don't have it activated right now because I'm here down in the Bahamas, but when I fly back, I will reactivate it. And so if you're a sailor and you want to know are conditions favorable for waterspouts, just check out the website. And it's these colors. The warmer the color, the higher the chance of potential of water spouts occurring. And if it's black, then there's no chance whatsoever. So we're going to be really interested in what's going to happen. There's going to be a low pressure system that's going to develop just to the east of the Bahamas. But that the impact is going to impact the entire area, and I'm predicting that there's going to be an increased chance of water spouts with this system. So we'll see what happens with the reports, and I'm sure we will be out there. All right, so I did mention the International Center for Waterspout. Exactly, is it? So it's an international organization comprised of meteorologists, researchers, storm chasers, mariners, even the media, and all other people that are interested in the phenomenon of waterspouts. What do we do? Well, we provide authoritative waterspout information. For example, those forecast maps that I showed you. Live reports. There's that world waterspout map that I showed you earlier, and that's near real time. Whenever I get a report, I plot it on there, and you can see if there's a waterspout occurring in your area or not. Also, we coordinate with storm chasing groups such as SI Weather Network, and I've been on the radio and TV several times talking about this phenomenon. We also have projects going on. As I mentioned, the Global Waterspout Mapping Project, that's our big one. We're mapping every waterspout around the world. And then we have written research papers. I've co-authored or written myself research papers on waterspouts. I've coordinated or co-wrote with my European colleagues who are hopefully online watching this right now. And yes, so future plans. You know, we are always trying to think of advanced, waterspout science, research, and networking and communication, and just making it more aware to the public for safety purposes. Well, we're thinking about building a comprehensive Bahamian waterspout climatology. As you saw, we just started last year, and with SI Weather Network, we're going to be getting more and more reports, and then over the years, we'll be getting a true climatology of waterspouts occurring in your country. We're also looking into developing new technologies to improve waterspout notification. We're thinking about everything from an app. When I go back home, I'm actually developing it where you can just call up the app and see the waterspout potential in your area.
Or whether it picks up the GPS on GPS location automatically.
Yeah. So we're thinking about things like that. Increased outreach today. Going to different countries and giving presentations such as this. And right now it's like a non-governmental volunteer organization. But there has been talk about maybe we might do some sponsorship, because we get a lot of views on our webpage, 180,000 views. We've been getting, especially with our waterspout, our global waterspout map. People really want to go on there and see where are they occurring right now live. So that's something that we're considering. And I have a summary video that puts everything together, really well done. It was put together by Noah. Now, the thing is, I have the volume turned off on my computer. Will they hear it? Will we hear it here? Because you were saying that there'd be feedback. I have to turn off the volume.
It should, when you shared your screen, did you share sound?
I don't think so, because you told me to turn it off.
Yeah, so you probably just need to share sound.
Stop sharing.
Let me,
Stop sharing, and then when you share it, you can just click share sound.
okay, I'll hit the play
Right.
button and see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll hit the pause and then I'll share the sound.
Okay.
That was the problem. Oops,
Wrong button.
there's the play button. No. Okay, so I have to share the sound, but I have to get out of the presentation, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody else will turn their volume down.
Stop sharing. I hit play. You know, I have to share the sound still, right?
Yeah, when you do the share screen, just select share sound.
Where is that? It's here.
No, share screen,
share screen,
share
share
screen. There's a button at the bottom of share, right, share sound, okay, and then go to window.
Can we, yeah,
Yeah, and then you can do that.
okay.
Okay, let's try it now.
So people online can see this too?
Mhm.
Okay, let's see if this works. No sound. Oh, that's good.
Mm-mm. He's trying to.
You have to turn yours, volume up on your.
What about on my last? Coming through on this.
No, he stopped playing, so I'm not.
Okay, I'll play it
Is
again.
the sound supposed to come on?
Maybe on my laptop, it's turned up down or off.
Yes. Okay.
Not it. So how do we get out of this? Right?
Press the Windows button
What's fine.
and go to your tray, system tray.
I'll let you navigate. What are you doing?
Go down.
Oh, yes. I can see down here the volume. Yes, I have it turned off on my laptop.
Just click
The
the
X.
button on the, where it shows the X on there. Just click the sound icon.
There.
Yeah, just click that.
How's that? Okay, thank you for watching.
Thank you, Wade. It was very informative. I'd like to open up the floor to questions, if anyone has any.
I do. I was ignorant until today that there are two kinds of water spout. You have the fair weather and the tornadic. I guess I always thought about what you call fair weather water spouts. Oh, you want me to be louder? Sorry, should I repeat it? I was ignorant of the difference between fair weather and tornadic water spouts. And I'd always seen water spouts as being relatively benign. And I'm interested to learn more. How do you tell the difference physically when you're looking at a water spout? You're in your boat, you see a water spout. How do you tell the difference between a fair weather and a tornadic water spout?
So that's a very good question. So without listening to the marine forecast, we're assuming you didn't listen to the marine forecast, you're just out there boating. You've ignored the safety procedures, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're out there. So one of the key things is if a water spout's coming out of a thunderstorm, that's a higher chance of it being a tornadic water spout. If you see a water spout, not necessarily all the time, but if you have a frontal system, if you have a cold front, which you can't see, but if you see a line of dark, ominous clouds, like a system, then that's that tornadic water spouts occur along that, as opposed to the individual puffy cloud type ones. Except for the thunderstorm one, you could have a tornadic one with an individual thunderstorm. But whenever you see a big line of dark clouds, that's a higher chance of seeing a tornadic one. But they're all dangerous in their own right. Any other questions from the room?
I have a question. As it relates to water spout safety, now I know you're talking about if we were to get caught up in a spout in the boat, you cut up the hatchet and she goes to the bottom of there. What actually would happen if the boat actually gets caught up in a water spout? It just turns over, it goes. What actually happens when it get caught up in a water spout?
Another good question. It's very variable. It all depends on what kind of boat you have. It could just be damage to your. It could be. You could make your boat go almost 90 degrees. I've seen video of that at the what's that big international sailboat race off of Australia? The America's Cup. America's Cup. I saw a video from the America's Cup where they encountered a water spout. It looked like a tornadic water spout, and the boat went almost 90 degrees. And then it came back out. And so you could be thrown off the boat, damage to the surface of your boat. It depends how it hits you. You could capsize. So if you have a smaller boat, more chances of it capsizing. The larger boat, less chance. So it depends on how you're hit, the strength of the water spout, and the size of your boat.
There was a gentleman earlier this year that there was a video on social media that got his boat. He was on a boat at Harbor Island next to the dock, and the water spout came and hit the boat, and he was on it and kind of just slammed him into another boat or the dock. He was okay, but that given that it wasn't if you have another much larger, more powerful water spout, then you end up with something like in Malta in 1555, where it sank 4 battleships in the harbor. So I guess it also depends on the strength of the water spout.
Of course, Robert had mentioned that battleships back then were made out of paper. So it's easy to sink.
We do have a question online as well. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yes, good evening from Egypt and good morning to you there. I'm Trevor Baston, formerly the director of the Bahamas Department of Meteorology, and work very closely with SCI Weather Network. And we put aside some activities in order to actually participate in this webinar. Okay, I now represent the Bahamas Aviation, Climate, and Severe Weather Network, or BACSWN, and I'm the Director of Meteorology for that project. Okay, when you made mention of vorticity, vorticity could be cyclonic or anticyclonic. You didn't make mention of which one usually spawn the water spout. Yeah, so in that's my first question.
Okay, so do you mean the small scale vorticity or
Well,
larger
either,
scale, high
well,
pressure,
well,
low pressure?
no, well, either one, because sometimes you can get even cyclones forming from, cyclonic or anticyclonic at the center. So usually which one of those vorticities would give rise to waterspout?
Okay, so if we're talking about, I'll answer that in two parts. For the small scale vorticity, or those little swirls that form at the surface of the water, most of the time they're cyclonic. You can get some anticyclonic vortices, just like with tornadoes. You can get anticyclonic rotating tornadoes. The majority in the northern hemisphere, at least, are cyclonic. So that's the small scale. But for the larger scale, for what the meteorologist is interested in, usually these conditions occur under cyclonic conditions. You want some curvature in the wind field. That really helps. But it's I'm starting to realize this more and more, especially coming down here. You don't even need cyclonic curvature necessarily. You can just have straight line synoptic winds. And I've seen and read research papers and experiments where if you have a flow of air, or when they're researching this flow of fluid, and you put objects in that fluid, for example, islands like the Bahamas, you have a predominant easterly or northeasterly flow. You get these little vortices forming on the leeward side of islands. And those vortices, along with those convergent lines that set up, are prime conditions for waterspout formation. And we actually drove to the southwest corner of your island yesterday, and we saw some nice building clouds. We didn't see the waterspout. I guess the instability wasn't strong enough. But yeah, so cyclonic conditions, curvature in the wind really helps. So with this developing low pressure system that will be occurring next week, we're going to be keeping our eyes on that, because there'll be cyclonic curvature synoptically in the large scale, and you have the islands with the flow and these eddies forming on the leeward side of the islands. I'm predicting that conditions are going to be increasing for waterspout activity.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I must make this comment. When you did the classification of fair weather and tornadic waterspouts, well, it caught my attention because, let me make sure I get this right. If the tornado move from land, and by definition, that tornado over land, it moves towards the water, then you are saying that's a tornadic waterspout. However, if I get a waterspout forming over the water and it moves toward land, what do you determine that? Because I've never heard of nomenclature saying a waterspout tornado or something.
Yeah, so if I'm answering your question correctly, if the waterspout, a true tornado is a vortex that has what us meteorologists and what you understand called a mesocyclone associated with it in the clouds. It's spinning in the clouds. There's rotation in the clouds, and cyclones attached. It doesn't matter what the surface is. It can form over the water, move over to the land, continue. It could form over the land, move over the water. That's what determines if it's a tornadic waterspout or not, if there's a mesocyclone attached to it. I'm not exactly sure about your radar network, and I briefly talked to Robert about that. If you have, do you have Doppler or dual polar radar in the Bahamas?
Oh yes, we have Doppler weather radars and dual polar, and that's going to be my next comment. And then I'll leave. Is that if you wish to have information, and that has been stored now from 2017 from this series of Doppler weather radars located in New Providence, Abaco, Long Island, and then we have Ragged Island, and they are going to come into force very shortly. You can lift from well, we use decibels, yeah, in order to determine intensity of things. So you can look and do a correlation and see when we had water spouts and tornadic activities and draw from there to give you further information.
Yeah, so that's an empirical method when you correlate to known parameters, and in fact, that's what the SWI, this Large Waterspout Index is. It's based on empirical evidence on temperature difference between the cloud and the sea surface, wind speed, and another parameter as well. But yeah, so going back to your original question, look for those mesocyclones on your Doppler radar, and if there's a waterspout report, then that's a confirmed case of a tornado over the water or land or wherever. If there's no mesocyclone, it's just coming out of the cloud, which is 85% of the time, then it's just a fair weather waterspout. So that's where the Doppler radar really helps to confirm things. And if you don't have a report of a waterspout and you see a mesocyclone on the radar, then view that obviously with suspicion and put out your associated warnings for possible tornado.
We actually had one of our spotters, Kevin, well, she forecasted Kevin Benty. He caught mesocyclone and a waterspout from a mesocyclone as part of the Ian, and Ian's the weather from Ian, Hurricane Ian moved through just off the western end of New Providence, between New Providence and
Thank you. And by the way, did you know that hurricanes do spawn tornadic waterspouts? Many people do know that. But did you know this? Now, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Did you know that the northeast quadrant of hurricanes is the most favored location for tornadic waterspouts? You can still get them with the other parts of the hurricane, but that is where you really get them. And it's because of the way the hurricane's spinning and the earth's spinning, and that's just a favorite location for waterspouts. We get that not in hurricanes. Up in my neck of the woods in Canada, we have these things called upper lows, and they're rotating around. They're not as intensive as hurricanes, but in the northeast quadrant of upper lows, that's where we get our water spouts, land spouts, and all the other wonderful vortices.
Oh, yes. And well, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity and enjoying. We continue to work. We will continue to work with Sci Weather Network. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for tuning in from Egypt. Yes. We're honored. And maybe one day we'll meet in person.
Yes, please. Thank you. It would be a pleasure.
We have another question.
Yeah. Does that simply mean it rotates the direction from how it would normally rotate in the northern hemisphere? And what would cause such a phenomenon?
So yeah, kind of, that's the answer. Cyclonic means counterclockwise, right? So the vast majority of tornadoes, waterspouts, dust devils, any vortices are cyclonic. Anticyclonic is clockwise.
but for tornadoes, there is. Southwest corner of the storm. So I would say for climatic models, the southwest corner is a cover of the cloud. For area of water formation. The fair weather one. All present. So I know there's a part due to this. I wasn't too sure what we had planned. Was it a great plan or was we were just go right in?
Maybe I think we have some network connections built.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes, not a very long break.
Okay, we have a 5-minute break. See you then.
Thank you, very interesting.
Yeah. I wish I lived down here to see this. Well, maybe in retirement. You never know. I'm a snowbird. Maybe I'm- What do you know?
So, frontier.
Is there a large dating community? There is.
You would like
For the ring,
some
it's supposed to partially, because I heard she has one. Yeah. I have a number. Don't worry.
Sorry? I don't know, the BI.
People online.
Recording in progress.
Mine's off. Anyone else?
That's all you want, on it? All the stuff I got over there. You got it. Got my message.
Oh, I didn't look at it. No, that's my sort of, that's down here. Oh.
Somebody's mic is open.
Who? I see, I'm hiding.
Somebody might. I'm not online. Somebody online, somebody might. Because you can mute them.
Hold on, let me make sure. Let me.
Yeah.
All yours.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for that first part of the presentation and waiting for us. Part two is going to be about lightning safety. We've all experienced lightning. Robert gave his personal story about a near strike, and he was blown off of his bike. And there are countless stories of people being injured, fatalities from around the world. And some may say that actually, well, lightning is actually more of a risk for mariners than waterspouts because they happen more frequently. And also, if you get hit by lightning as opposed to a waterspout, there's a higher chance of fatality or injury. So let's continue with the presentation and learn more about lightning and safety. So today's presentation about lightning is going to be purely on the weather side. I'm not going to be discussing about how to protect your sailboats or anything because I'm no expert with that. But some lightning facts that we do know is that obviously all thunderstorms produce lightning. Otherwise, it would not be categorized as a thunderstorm. Also, lightning often strikes outside of an area of heavy rain. I don't know if people know that. People might think, oh, in the rain, you're going to get lightning. You can get lightning in rain itself, but it most often strikes outside that heavy rain area. Also, this is something that people don't know, and there are fatalities because of this. If you're going to take anything home with you, take this bullet home. Lightning can strike as far as 30 kilometers out ahead of a storm in clear air. People don't know that. And I've seen with myself, there was a festival in my hometown, and there was approaching severe weather, and a lightning bolt jumped out ahead of the storm several kilometers. I think it was 10 kilometers in that case, and hit a beer tent. And there was some injuries with that. So always, if you think, the storm is way out there, yeah, it is out there, but lightning can jump out ahead. So something to keep in mind. Some more lightning facts. Do you know that lightning occurs over land more than it does over oceans? Because land tends to heat up more and you get the convection over the land. Also, this is something interesting. The temperature of a lightning bolt is 300,000 degrees Celsius. So you don't want to get hit because you're gonna be barbecued, unfortunately. There's different kinds of lightning. I don't know if you knew that. There is what we call CG or cloud to ground lightning. That's the most common type of lightning. There's also cloud to cloud lightning, or CC, what us meteorologists call, where it can jump from one part of the cloud to another, or it could jump to another cloud as well. There's also in cloud lightning. I think I just said that it's within the cloud. And then there's cloud to air lightning, where it just jumps out. It doesn't strike the land, doesn't strike the cloud, or even within it, it just jumps out and stops. Another thing that people don't know, and I don't have the bullet for this, a lot of times when you see a lightning bolt, you're usually seeing the return strike. If you're quick enough, you might see it come down like that. But most of the time, people are, when they see it at the corner of their eye and they turn their head, there's actually a return strike. So it goes down and then there's a return strike back up. And that's what a lot of people see. Obviously, for another lightning fact, lightning can damage boats. But I didn't know this. Lightning usually damages boats in fresh water more than in salt water. And I didn't know that. It has something to do with the conductivity of the water. Fresh water is more conducive for electricity for some reason than salt water. I thought it would have been the opposite. Yeah, me too. Didn't know that. That doesn't mean that it's not dangerous over salt water. So here's some more lightning facts. Unfortunately, facts about casualties. So over 2,000 deaths occur worldwide due to lightning. 1/3 of those deaths occur after a storm passage. So that's what I was talking about. The lightning can jump out ahead of a storm in clear air, sunny skies, and you could be struck by lightning as far as 30 kilometers from the storm. And so many times the storm comes by, you take cover, be it land or you're on a boat, it passes, and then people come out right away. Well, remember, lightning jumps out from the thunderstorm and could hit you from behind as the lightning bolt, as the thunderstorm already passed you. So 1/3 of the deaths is because people are coming up saying, hey, it's clearing up. Then they get hit from the thunderstorm that's moved off. Another statistic is this year in the US, there's already been 6 deaths due to lightning for water activity. One was, I guess, a boat that just came onto the beach. Someone was struck and killed. Jet skiing in, I believe that was Puerto Rico. And then there was some people that died while rowing in a boat. Now, not everyone dies when they're struck by lightning. The statistics show that only 10% of people actually die from that. However, many of the survivors live the rest of their lives with intense pain, neurological disabilities, depression, and other health problems. So if you can avoid lightning, getting struck by lightning, please do that. You know what? Sometimes people are like cats and have 9 lives. I know a gentleman from my high school who later became a storm chaser. He has been struck by lightning twice. And his mother was struck by lightning. Everyone survived.
Wow. I know somebody's been struck by lightning twice.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
There was a ranger in the Park Service in the US that I think that claims to have the world record of being struck 7 times by lightning.
7 times. 7 times could be the lightning. Lightning. Yes. The record.
I think he must
Did
be-
we have someone put their hand up or? Oh, no, that was.
I have to share, my mother was struck by.
Oh, someone's mother here in the audience was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Did she survive?
Yes.
Okay, great.
She's very much alive. Still.
Great.
Okay.
Too bad she wasn't here to give her personal testimony.
Did she have any lasting effects in terms of certain neurological?
No.
Thank God.
No lasting effects. I guess God did.
Yeah.
She did have to fly because we didn't get out. She did have to get a flight to Nassau and I checked out. It was not in the hospital right now. Maybe returned.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are some of the lightning facts that we've come up with.
One question, I mean, I don't know if it's essential. How would you know if someone gets struck by lightning?
How would you know? Well,
Yeah.
depends if you show up on the scene or if you saw them get hit by lightning. Obviously, they got hit by lightning. But if you showed up on the scene, there could be burning flesh. They could be in convulsions. I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't really answer that fully, but you know, obviously all the emergency services to have them checked out. So where does lightning most frequently occur here in North America? Well, here's a lightning climatology map. As I mentioned before, lightning occurs more frequently over the land than over the water. And as you can see on this particular map, there is a relative maximum over Florida, Cuba, and I can't see the Bahama Islands in this case, but your own personal experiences. Do you get a lot of thunderstorms, lightning here? Okay.
Yes.
Parts of Mexico, is that Colombia there? And yeah, the Midwest as well. So this is an example of where lightning occurs most frequently, area of North America. Also, I don't know if you can see, I'll put on my red pen here. Along here, there's an axis of lightning activity. That is the Gulf Stream going up along there. So lots of convection, lots of thunderstorm activity. And it's also an area where the air masses clash. Cold Canadian air comes down and moves over the warm Gulf Stream, and lots of thunderstorms occurring there. Okay, so we know where lightning occurs, some facts about it, but how can we prepare ourselves to protect ourselves in case of lightning? So obviously, if you're a mariner, because we're talking about the marine forecast here, if you're a mariner, listen to the marine forecast. If you're a general public, listen to your general public forecast to see if there's any chance of thunderstorms in the forecast. So if you're a sailor and you're going out that day, listen for if there's any marine warnings for thunderstorms, obviously. This is an example of a site. It's called lightningmaps.org, and it's a site that displays live lightning strikes. And you can even have a history of it back to an hour, I believe, or longer. And I could go to this and see if it works. And we can see what's going on right now. So this is the live site.
You can see where that low pressure is starting to develop.
So to the southeast there, off of the Dominican Republic, between Dominican Republic and where is that, Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
There was that low pressure that gave lots of flooding in the last 2 days. And there's a long lightning here. There's some lightning out farther off to the east. So this is an excellent site to check out if you're a boater and if you're just a member of the general public, want to do some outdoor activities, go to this site and you can see where current lightning is occurring. As you can see here, 12:13 p.m. Let's zoom out. So not only is it just for the Bahamas, this is for the entire world. Love this site. Here's this line of severe weather that the Weather Channel was talking about. There were tornadoes in this line here over eastern Texas, and now it's over Louisiana, I believe, and approaching Alabama.
19 tornadoes this morning.
19 tornadoes came out of this last night.
From the, yeah,
Right.
reported. So
You can see these little circles that pop up. Depends how fast the internet speed is here. So that is the sound of thunder. So if you're, it's really neat, and it actually works. If you zoom in, you probably see it better. That is the these concentric circles is where thunder is, like the leading edge of it is expanding from the original lightning strike.
That sound wave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've actually, tested it. I've waited, there was a nearby lightning strike, maybe 10 kilometers away, and then waiting for the thunder, and then that circle comes over me and you hear thunder. So it's really neat. So, it travels by the speed of sound. Depends on the air temperature, how fast it goes, but it's a neat feature. So I highly recommend this site. And as I said, it's all over the world. Ooh, look at that, all that lightning over the Mediterranean. I bet you there are some waterspouts embedded in here now. So if I was at home or on the desk, I would put out
Sorry,
a
wait,
notice about,
sorry, so because you switch screens, the
Yes.
people online can't actually see this, what you're doing.
okay, so I'm going to switch back.
Okay.
So to get back from this, where is Craig when we need him?
Oh, Craig left there. You need to go back to this Zoom way.
Back to
That
this?
one, yeah.
All right, everyone online see this?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
great.
definitely seeing that. We couldn't see the other thing you're doing. We were seeing this, yes.
All right, so you've listened to the forecast, the public forecast or the marine forecast if you're a mariner. You heard that there is a chance of thunderstorms, or maybe there wasn't even anything. And they got it wrong, or we got it wrong. This is what to look for if you're out there walking around or sailing. So look for rapidly growing cumulus clouds on that day. If you see the cumulus clouds, which are the small puffy clouds, turning into what's known as towering cumulus clouds, which has a large vertical extent, then that becomes a towering cumulus cloud. That's an indicator that this strong updraft associated with that area. And it can be a danger, especially if it then goes to the next stage, which is a cumulonimbus cloud, otherwise known as a thunderstorm. Then you're going to get lightning out of that. So watch for building clouds such as that. Also, if you see showers developing underneath these clouds, that's another indicator that the cloud is thick enough to produce showers, and the next stage could be lightning. All depends on the conditions of that day. Obviously, if you hear thunder, then there's going to be lightning in that. Has anyone ever seen lightning but not heard thunder in their life? Yeah?
Yeah.
So you know why that happens?
No.
Okay, so, well, that's why you're here today.
Yes.
No? Okay, so it's one of a couple of reasons. Either the thunderstorm is relatively close, but there's so much noise due to traffic that you can't hear it. Doesn't happen too often. Most of the time, it's so far away that the sound is dampened out, because sound doesn't keep on traveling around the world. It eventually damps out, and it's just because of the distance. Has anyone ever seen a flash in the sky, but no thunder and no lightning?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you wake up from your dream?
When you say a flash in the sky, what do you mean?
Like, not a lightning bolt, but the sky actually flashed. And it's like a large area flash, like even above your head. Or have you ever seen anything like that?
In a cloud.
No cloud, clear sky. Yeah.
I thought you just made it in the cloud.
Oh, I thought you said that. You were saying yes. Yeah, I've seen that all the time.
That's a trick question.
That's because you woke up from your dream. That's why.
I just got up.
Into reality. So that is called heat lightning. Has anyone heard of the term heat lightning? It's not exactly the most accurate term, but that's a common old term. Heat lightning is lightning that occurs over the horizon. You can't even see the cloud, like it's that far away. We're talking hundreds of kilometers away. And what that does is the flash, and it's usually at night. And the flash from over the horizon, from the cloud that you can't even see, it illuminates the particles in the sky, in the upper atmosphere. And so that reflects the light, and you see a sudden flash that happens all over the sky. And there's clear skies. Where did that come from? I've seen that once or twice in my life, once for sure.
You usually see it on the horizon. You know there's a storm where the clouds are below the horizon line. It looks like bombs going on.
Okay.
You see that.
Yeah.
You see that here, definitely. It's
Yeah, because you have great visibility, right? But even if you don't even see that, like it's even beyond,
right.
If you don't see the little bombs, you see a flash, like you can't see those bombs. It's like it travels far. As long as you have the particles up in the sky. Now, you have a relatively clean air down here in the Bahamas, so you might not see it as much. Like we have more polluted air on the mainland, so we see it maybe more frequently. Okay, and one more slide. So you listen to the forecast, thunderstorms are possible. You're out there, you may, if you have time, look for the signs, but then you end up being caught in a thunderstorm. What do? So if you're in a boat and you're a mariner, you try to lower your antenna, and towers, that's the correct terminology, fishing rods and outriggers. Disconnect the connections and power leads to antennas and other electronics because they will get damaged during lightning strikes. And I'm not too sure about why, but do not use your VHF radio unless emergency. I'm not a mariner, but I'm not sure why you would do something like that.
Well, a lot of people just leave it on all the time.
I don't know if that would attract the lightning.
If your antenna is up, so put it down.
Right. Well, you don't want your VHF radio to get fried, right? You want it disconnected. These are big no-nos. Do not, in bold here, do not grab two metal objects. Metal, for example, a metal steering wheel and a metal railing. You know, the seas are rough and you're like this. Do not do that because then you're a conductor and the electricity can pass right through you. If forced to, yes. Some people wear rubber gloves while steering a boat, or a wooden spoon to keep keep your other hand in your pocket. So again, you don't want to have a complete connection, something metal. You want to break that connection. You can do that with rubber gloves or a wooden spoon, apparently. Also, go down into the cabin. Stay away from metal objects and electrical outlets and appliances, because if you do have a strike, it's going to go straight to the metal, because that's the path of least resistance. But then you can also jump out from those metal objects. So you don't want to be near, the electrical outlet or your stove. And this applies to being in a house too. You don't want to be hanging on to your fridge during an electrical storm, because if you have a nearby strike or if it strikes the house, it's going to come up the wire, hit your fridge, and then connect with you. And that's what I was just talking about. The side flashes jump from metal to people. Thank you very much. Lightning safety. Any questions about lightning? All right, we're all well informed.
Yes.
I'm glad there's no question.
My father actually got hit, my father and his caretaker boat had as a crew that day, he got hit by lightning. They had fishing one day, a long time ago. And it knocked down a bunch of electronics while the maid had knocked the maid off his feet. I don't know exactly where it hit, but we just obviously had some electronic damage to the boat.
Yeah.
They started going around in circles after it hit. So.
Oh, yeah, it's very dangerous.
But that's my dad. He took a lot of chances. Well, no, well,
There is a question online, but not lightning. If you are unable to outrun a tornado, is there a particular position you can take to improve your chance of survival? Like, for example, tucking your head between your legs as a plane descends, stopping, dropping and roll, for instance, for a fire. So is there something that you can do if you can't outrun the tornado?
Right, so I assume we're on land, right? We're not in a boat?
Yes, we can assume that.
Yeah, so if you're on land and you see a tornado coming, I believe you mentioned about dropping down and what was that? Sticking your
head. Well, it's
your
just
between your legs.
right. Well, that's what they do. What they tell you to do on planes, and then they
Yeah.
use another example. If it's a fire, you drop and roll. So, is there something similar?
Yeah, so you want to go to the low-lying areas if you're caught completely out in the open, if there's a gutter by the road, side of the road, go into there. Because you don't want to get hit by flying debris. So a lot of people don't realize this. People don't die from being sucked up into a tornado. Yes, there are objects that are, for example, cows and things like that. People, vast majority of people that perish is due to flying objects hitting them. Same as in a hurricane, right? You've well, there's also storm surge, but for a tornado, try to go to a low-lying area. I don't believe there are any basements in Bahamas, right? Because the water table's so high, so I won't give you that piece of advice, but in the continent, we do have basements, not in Florida though. And they do recommend going into the southwest corner of a basement, because that's where there's the least structural damage. So my advice is try to go to a low-lying area. Don't go under a tree, because that could be a lightning rod. You don't want to be struck by lightning. I know that in terms of lightning safety, if you're caught out in the field, you can't go anywhere and there's no cars around. Yeah, lay down flat. I've heard something else where you lay down, but you crunch up like a ball and you stick your behind up. Oh. Because you want your behind, if you're going to get hit, you want your behind to be hit, not your head. Because
Okay.
I've heard other variations of that. Get on the ground, stick your behind up and kiss yourself. That's another folklore. But yeah, if you're in a car, in terms of lightning, that's a safe place to be, because the rubber tires will protect you from the lightning, electricity going all the way through, and it won't go through you. But if you're in a car with a tornado, not a good place, because the car rolls over and you get tossed. So yeah, it depends where you are. I know some people have a hurricane-proof house or hurricane-proof room. That'd be a safe place for a tornado, but not everyone has that. But it all depends.
Okay. Thank you.
Did I see another question? Yes.
Yes, coming back to waterspouts. So we spoke about fish falling down out of the sky that gets sucked up in the waterspout. So that brings to mind the question, how deep into the ocean does a waterspouts influence penetrate? Is it just a surface phenomenon, or is it going down a few inches, a couple of feet? What sort of effect does it have on the ocean below it?
Well, you know, we were looking for volunteers.
Thank you very much. I'm not trying to scare people from putting up their hands, but unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that. But that's a great scientific, question. How far does the water get pulled up? There are these things called whirlpools. Have you heard of whirlpools or seen a whirlpool? A famous whirlpool was the one after the Yokoshima disaster. There was tsunami, right? That was the tsunami. Yeah. I remember that one, and all the water went out, and then it then pulls back out to the ocean, carrying debris with it. But there was a helicopter, a news reporter, and he was filming this giant whirlpool. I've never seen anything like that, rotating around with this ship slowly going in the vortex. And he didn't have the video long enough, but it was on long. I don't know if it got sucked down into the vortex, but it was a sight to see. So those things go down deep. But waterspouts, they're more of a surface feature. I'd say, obviously fish would have to be near the surface, but we don't know how far in terms of depth that suction and rotation go. I'm sure it makes a depression, just like the first stage of a waterspout is a depression and a dark spot. So
We got a couple of waterspouts.
yes, Robert.
Coming back to the rain shaft, is it possible for a waterspout to survive embedded in a rain shaft, or it will kill it?
It will usually make it dissipate, yes. So it can still exist, but it takes, I don't know, a few seconds and it starts to go because it's suppressing.
Yeah.
the
So in the nighttime waterspout, mariners, unless you aware that there's a high water spout activity, there's almost no way to protect yourself unless you have a spotlight or something. Right.
Well, it's good that you brought that up because I remember I was working the midnight shift at the Ontario Weather Center. And we got a report from Coast Guard, US Coast Guard on Lake St. Clair at 3 in the morning of a water spout. They were patrolling the lake along the Detroit skyline and coming in out of the dark, appearing out of the dark was this huge water spout. And so they tried to outrun it, and you're not supposed to try to outrun it, but they outran the thing. And it shows you that water spouts are occurring at night. It just happened to be illuminated by the Detroit skyline, and yeah, so they're dangerous at night because you can't see them coming. I was also on a water spout hunting trip, and the light was getting lower, and then finally went to darkness, and then there was a lightning strike. I saw a Great Lakes tanker and a water spout to the side of that. So no one would have known that, right? That would have seen that. It wasn't for that lightning strike. Same with here. Well, we have two things. We have a lightning strike, and we have the Naples Harbor illuminating the water spout. But they are occurring at night as well.
But do you think it's would you guess that it's just as many at nighttime as during the day, or I guess depending on the daytime thunderstorms or the heat, the land heat?
Yeah,
maybe less so.
Well, you know what? It depends. If you're over the Great Lakes, they actually do fire up at night in the fall because of the land and water temperature difference, and you get this heating more over the water. The water's more warm than the land because we start to cool off. And but otherwise, I think it doesn't matter day or night. It's no preferential treatment.
In terms of water spout, the winds that affect a water spout, is it mostly the lower level winds that decide whether we're going to have water spouts? Or...
Yeah, you have that air converging at low levels along a front or on the leeward side of an island. That's what usually determines if water spouts will form. So I'm going to have to ask everyone, who has seen a water spout in this room or online? Whoa.
Oh, yes.
I'm in the right place. I'm going to have to interview everyone here.
I was going to say, I did not have a question, but throughout my lifetime, growing up on Canada, I've seen water spouts. I'm very grateful for the presentation and the information that you have given me, because they've never been recorded or documented. Definitely know what's up. But on the report that you gave, you mentioned June, and I was like, wow, spot on, because most time that I've seen water spouts is during the summertime. And I remember because this is like 2019, 2020. I normally goes on the north side, right, for my appetizer. That's Wilson Scrub. And around 2019 or 2020, I saw 6 water spouts. There was 6 of them.
Next to each other.
Wow. And I was there, you know, I paused from collecting my wills and I watched it. But throughout my life, I normally never got afraid because I've never seen it come to shore. I always seen it throughout my life, never seen it come to shore. But now that you've given me all this information, you know, I'm thinking twice now to hit start leaving time. But like you said, it has not been recorded, and it's good that you mentioned that you're not gonna say right away that climate change will be wrong, because I have always seen it was, so it might not be because of increasing or changing
Right.
climate change.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, people are quick to jump to say blame climate change, you know, and climate change is important in our world. But in terms of water spouts, maybe even tornadoes, if there's an increase due to climate change, we're just now noticing them. Now we can communicate them and report them a lot more easier. Yeah. By the way, you mentioned you saw 6 in a row. Yeah. So the world record for the number of water spouts occurring at the same time is 12. And so that was, again, a captain I was talking to during break time like this at a presentation. In the US, I believe it was Cleveland, he told me he saw 12 in a row and he couldn't get them all in his field of view of his camera, so. People didn't believe him, he only could get 7 in a row, but he said, no, there were 12 in a row occurring at once, so it's actually. That can happen, you can have waterspouts occurring in a family. Family of waterspouts, and just like that diagram I showed you earlier, with that line and little vortices. If you get all these vortices forming along that line and you get individual clouds popping up along that line, you're going to get waterspouts under all of those if the conditions are right. And as Robert mentioned, the world record is 234 waterspouts over a 5-day period. 66. I should know this because I was the one who compiled. And we can attribute that world's record due to storm chasers and members of the public and people now realizing that what this phenomenon is and how to communicate it on social media. If it wasn't for that, and it wasn't for me there at the Waterspout Nerve Center collecting all that, we wouldn't have known that. So it's amazing, you see one here, you see 6 one day, but can you imagine 266 of these over the Great Lakes? And so originally the meteorologists thought that waterspouts, as the video said, the hotspot is the Florida Keys. Well, that's what we think right now. But you know what? With this waterspout mapping project, we're seeing more and more other hotspots around the world. Like now we're getting New Providence, we're getting all kinds of reports being compiled in the Mediterranean. And so our knowledge is changing about this phenomenon.
You may have the Bahamas record.
Yes.
I have my brother-in-law has seen 5 of Blue Lagoon there.
I'm saying 6, but now he made mention of this networking. So this information that the person now being aware, documenting with waterspouts, then as we go on, information about it definitely will change.
Yeah. So if you see one if anyone sees one in the future, just tweet it or Instagram it. We use, I think Twitter is a big one for us. And then I can see it right away because I search for these reports every day. Even into retirement, it's it's in my blood. I'm not going to be able to stop.
And we do have another question online. What causes your hair to stand on end when lightning is around?
Well, I can't answer that personally. But I can say my stubble does stand on end. So in terms of that, it's the charge in your body. So there's the reason why you have lightning is because of the difference in charge between the cloud and the surface. So let's use a tree, for example. Lightning hits a tree. There's a buildup of positive charge underneath the cloud. That's just a natural atmospheric thing that happens in a thundercloud. And then at the surface, there's also charge, but negative charge starts to build up. And that difference then, see, nature wants to always be in balance. It doesn't like to be out of balance. And so that charge, what we call charge potential difference, positive up here, negative here, it wants to neutralize itself. And so the way to do that is with the lightning strike. It goes down there, so the positives go down there, neutralizes the negatives. And so when you have your hair, like you're standing, you're actually, people don't realize this, you're actually getting, especially in a thunderstorm situation, there's a buildup of negative charge on the top of your head, but people aren't aware of it. You don't see a glow or a halo. Well, some people have those. And and that's why. So it's that's why your hair stands on end, is because the negative charge is starting to pull out.
Okay.
And there's a lot of positive charge in the cloud. So actually, that is a sign to take cover, because you might be the next strike.
Wow. Okay. So we have someone online who has a house with a metal roof. So what happens if your house has a metal roof in lightning? How can you keep safe?
So whenever they put a metal roof on a house, it's usually grounded. Hopefully it's grounded. So there's a copper wire. Yeah, copper wire. Anything that you put up there, you put a TV antenna, that's grounded. You'll see a wire coming down the tower into the ground. So you want that to carry away that electricity into the ground and away from you. So I assume that metal roofs are, this metal roof should be grounded, yeah. You're safe. As long as it's grounded. If not, then you're lightning.
That's the van over there.
I assume his metal roof was put on by a certified contractor, so if he wasn't a certified guy, then we're in trouble, right?
Apparently it wasn't. So anyways, would you like to open your mic and share your experience? She probably can't, yeah. She's typing away saying, said the lightning actually struck right next to her. In the home. Well, okay. Interesting.
My mic is unmuted.
Okay, go.
This was a few years ago, and since then the roof has been changed, but it was originally not supposed to be a house. It was originally just supposed to be a storage area, and it was not grounded. I was sitting inside, and the lightning busted out the concrete maybe just inches away from me during a storm. So yes, I do know about lightning conducting through metal objects.
Well, thank goodness you survived that event. You know, my colleague and good friend, he's a meteorologist. And how many people have heard of a weatherman who's afraid of lightning? Well, there is. So, and there's actually a phobia, and I don't know what it is right now, what it's called. Anyone know what the phobia of fear of lightning called?
Google it.
I don't know, phobia is spiders, but what's the fear of lightning? I forget what the term is, but my friend who's a colleague, he's actually, I've heard him being afraid of it, never seen it, saw it once with my own eyes.
Astrophobia.
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 It's the fear of thunder and lightning.
Okay.
It typically affects children.
But I saw with my own eyes, we were at a beach, there was severe weather coming, it was in the distance. And then he goes, I got to get into a car because you know me, I'm afraid of lightning. Anyways, it was moving fast and coming quite quickly, and there was a nearby strike, and he jumped into the car, not his own car, someone else's car with a family in it. And I've never seen his eyes bulge with fear, so that's an actual fear of lightning, and understandably so. And yeah.
Wow.
Now, you know what? Maybe we can come up with a term. I bet you there isn't any such term as we can do it here in the audience. What about a fear of waterspouts? We can coin. That's a fear of water, right?
So that's our homework assignment then.
Yeah, we could coin a term.
That's good.
Submit it to the World Meteorological Organization.
Waterphobia.
Ortophobia.
Oh, that's a nice one.
How about aquavortophobia? I like that. Ortophobia.
Hydrophobia.
What's that?
Hydrophobia.
Hydrophobia?
Was that water again then?
That's water, yeah.
Mm.
Hydrovortophobia.
Oh gosh, don't twist it now.
Let's make it easy. Let's try to make it easy.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no further questions, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and making me feel welcome in your beautiful country. And I think after the presentation, aren't we just we're gonna head out there into the field with our binoculars and
After we eat lunch?
after lunch, yes, we'll be out there scanning the skies.
Yeah. And as our chief forecaster says, there is a good chance of seeing, there is a chance of seeing some waterspouts this afternoon.
Right.
Current conditions.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Wade, for that presentation.
Thank you.
Very nice. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Monique Palmisano. She's the SI Weather Hurricane Intercept Director. For closing us out.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to give big thank you to Wade for this informative and educational with Waterspout and lightning, of course. I will be using a lot of your techniques and what you just taught us while I'm in my field. And we're hoping that we can find more people to come and actually be spotters also for Cyweather Network. Because it's actually saves lives and property at the same time, whether it's with waterspouts or whether it's lightning or severe weather. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of Cyweather Network and of course Rotary for coming here and presenting with us.
Thank you very much, Monique. It was a pleasure.
And at the same time, I'd like to acknowledge a few people that would be online. So we'll start off with Ian McKinsey from the Forecast Met Office. Then we have Laurent Burrows, the President and CEO of Bahamas Aviation, Climate and Severe Weather Network. Then we also have PAG Lindsay Cancino, CFO, Bahamas Aviation, Climate and Severe Weather Network. Then we have the Senior VP and Director of the Meteorology, Trevor Baston, Bahamas Aviation, Climate and Severe Weather also. We'll also like to thank all of our sponsors, the Insurance Management, Bahamas Insurance Agent, Blue Lagoon, Summit Insurance, ICWR, and Bahamas Aviation, Climate and Severe Weather. We just want to thank everybody, Rotary Club and Cyweather, for an excellent presentation today. Thank you.
Very much, Wade, on this excellent presentation.
Thank you.
So only thing left is this lunch, right? Beyonce comes on Wednesday, so he will have.
So that was an end to this.
I just don't want to start out.
She told me, get all your weather business out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation when I arrive.
Sorry, just for the online person, if you're interested in taking part in what is it, water spout spotting experience, is that when, tomorrow or?
Well, we haven't set an official, we're gonna try to just follow this afternoon, but Greg was talking about Tuesday.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people are working, yeah.
Okay, well, you can let us know via the SI Weather site if you're interested, and so that we can reach out to you and set up a time.
You
Thank
available
you.
Tuesday?
If y'all don't stand